Last month, President Trump declared a, quote, national emergency concerning the southern border of the United States under the National Emergencies Act. And, my colleagues wanted to talk about the southern border with relation to the opioid crisis, so let's talk about it. Because even at the time that he declared this emergency, he said himself, quote, I didn't need to do this. But he did. And at the time the president declared this emergency, the White House issued a statement that, quote, he would be using his legal authority to take executive action to secure additional resources. And he's transferred millions of dollars even from FEMA to ICE. The statement said that the administration had identified funding that could be transferred from other agencies as well. This includes up to $2.5 billion that he's transferred from the Department of Defense and up to $3.6 billion reallocated from military construction projects. So that's one national emergency he's identified. But about a year and a half ago, the president issued a declaration indicating that opioids also constitute a public health emergency. Director Carroll, today, how much funding has the administration transferred from other agencies to address the opioid public health emergency?
If you're referring to the opioid emergency that was declared 18 months or so ago, very little money was actually transferred over. I'm not sure of the exact amount, but it was not very much money.
Right. We're seeing here, there's evidence that almost no money was transferred from other agencies. So we have two national emergencies, one declared on the southern border where the president transfers and is taking away millions of dollars from other agencies to address a wall, which doesn't even solve these issues when we're seeing that it's focused on ports of entry. But second, when we actually—
May I address that, actually? In terms of if you just go by weight, and I can break it down by drug if you would like, but and the numbers that I have from Customs and Border Protection for 2018 reflects the total weight of drugs at ports of entry in 2018 was 432,000 pounds of various drugs. Between ports of entry for the same time frame, fiscal year 2018, 476,000.
So actually more even.
In terms of total weight, I can break it down by drug if you want.
So here's my big question I want to ask for the other side. Because just a few weeks ago, that enough fentanyl was captured to kill 57 million Americans. You remember this story when this happened? Yeah, just a few weeks back, right?
Yes, sir.
50. So if that's not an emergency, somebody tell me what is. Enough fentanyl to kill 58 million? 59 million? How bad does it have to get before we actually say this is an emergency? Mr. Carroll, is there a drug crisis emergency on our southern border?
Yes, sir. There's a drug crisis in our country, and all of the drugs that are here are coming into our country. The fatal drugs are coming from overseas, Mexico, China.
I do think that we here in Congress have responsibility as well. The Public Health Emergency Fund has only at most $57,000 in it, and it has not been really funded congressionally in a long time. So I think that that's an area where we can accept some personal responsibility.
If you enjoyed that clip, make sure you subscribe because this exchange perfectly captures one of the biggest problems in Washington. What you just watched wasn't really a debate about funding. It wasn't even a debate about government procedure. It was a debate about whether our political leaders are willing to acknowledge reality. AOC spent her time attacking President Trump's border emergency declaration. Her argument was that if opioids are such a serious public health emergency, why wasn't the administration moving the same level of funding around to address that issue? On the surface, that may sound like a clever political point. The problem is that Jim Jordan immediately brought the conversation back to the actual crisis facing the country. Because while politicians in Washington argue over bureaucratic processes, Americans are dying. Jordan cited the staggering amount of fentanyl seized at the border. Enough fentanyl to kill tens of millions of people. Just think about that for a second. Not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, tens of millions. And his question was devastatingly simple. If that's not an emergency, what is? That's the question that nobody on the left seems eager to answer. For years, we've been told that concerns about the southern border are exaggerated. We've been told that demanding stronger border security is somehow extreme. We've been told that walls don't matter, enforcement doesn't matter, and that anyone raising concerns is simply playing politics. Yet at the same time, America has been suffering through one of the worst drug epidemics in its history. Communities have been devastated. Families have been destroyed. Parents have buried children. Children have buried parents. Entire towns have watched addiction tear through neighborhoods like a hurricane. And where is a huge portion of this poison coming from? Across the southern border. Even the witness in this hearing acknowledged there is a drug crisis. He acknowledged that deadly drugs are entering the country from overseas through Mexico and from China's supply chains. Those aren't Republican talking points. Those were admissions made during the hearing itself. What makes this clip so revealing is that it exposes the difference in priorities. AOC wanted to focus on criticizing Trump's emergency declaration. Jordan wanted to focus on stopping fentanyl from killing Americans. One side was talking about political messaging. The other side was talking about a national catastrophe. And this is exactly why so many Americans became frustrated with Washington in the first place. People sitting around their kitchen tables aren't worried about scoring ideological points. They're worried about whether their communities are safe. They're worried about the drug dealers operating in their neighborhoods. They're worried about losing another friend, another family member, or another child to fentanyl. The reality is that fentanyl has become one of the deadliest threats facing the country. A tiny amount can kill. A quantity small enough to fit in the palm of your hand can end multiple lives. Yet whenever stronger border security is proposed, many on the left immediately pivot to talking points about walls, optics, or political motives instead of confronting the underlying problem. Jordan's frustration in this hearing reflected the frustration millions of Americans feel. How many more overdose deaths are required before Washington treats this like the emergency it clearly is? How many more families need to suffer? How many more communities need to be devastated? At some point, common sense has to prevail. And that's why this exchange landed so hard. Jordan wasn't speaking in abstract political theories. He was talking about real consequences. The facts were sitting right there in front of everyone. A massive drug crisis exists. Fentanyl is flooding into the country. Americans are dying. And if that doesn't qualify as an emergency, it's hard to imagine what would. The clip also highlights another uncomfortable truth. Too often, politicians who oppose stronger border enforcement spend more time arguing about how a problem is being addressed than acknowledging the scale of the problem itself. Americans notice that. They notice when leaders seem more upset about the solution than the crisis. They notice when political talking points take priority over public safety. And they notice when someone like Jim Jordan cuts through the noise and asks the question everyone else is avoiding. If enough fentanyl to kill tens of millions of Americans isn't an emergency, then what exactly is? That's the question that still deserves an answer today. If you agree that securing the border and stopping the flow of fentanyl should be a national priority, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video so more people can see what happened in this hearing.